podcast recording. Mic check, mic check. Gotta snap a little something here. All right, all right. Three, two, one. Hey everyone, this is Corey with Camera Coach, and you are tuned into another episode of Full Frame with Corey. Thanks for tuning in, and just a quick kind of background as far as what we're going to be going through today. You can see there's a spread here if you're on the video, but my table's like full. Still got my Batman bobblehead right here. And so we are talking more about tools. If you already caught the episode about the prime lens, you're going to find more and more of these because I get a lot of questions about equipment and recommendations and that sort of thing. So it's only natural to kind of make sure I put some things out, especially about something that multiple people need, use, have questions about, that sort of thing. So now, just to talk a little bit more about just kind of background. Again, my name is Corey Dunnigan. I am a photographer and a photography educator. So I have about 15 years of classroom teaching experience in Texas, and 5 of those years were in a classroom setting teaching high school photography, commercial photography specifically, if you're familiar with the CTE programs. All right, so that's my background. I am a photographer, and so I've been doing freelance photography for about 13 years, and my business name is Camera Coach, and so primarily because I don't just take pictures, and so I get questions about the business name all the time. It's really about 3 things. Camera Coach is about taking good pictures, so capturing photos. We also love to connect and develop. So connecting with others who like to take pictures and like talking about gear and that sort of thing, kind of get to geek out with other people, right? And then developing. We are definitely about helping others develop, and not just them, but still learning. I'm not going to say I'm an expert about everything, and photography is always changing. So you never really can say that you're everywhere, that you got everything down. It's always going to shift on you, always going to change. And so your knowledge just has to always increase, right? And so your experience has to increase as well. And so that's just a little bit about Camera Coach. It's based here in Waco, Texas. And so I moved to Waco from Houston. I went to Baylor University and graduated, second Bears. And and then after that I started teaching and then got into photography and did both of them for quite a while. And this is the first year really that I'm going full-time with Camera Coach and stepping out of the classroom. So it's been good. It's been different, So the first quarter was the last semester, and so now we're rolling into 2023. So there you go. That's a kind of longer run through as far as Camera Coach goes. But I want to pause really quickly for a couple quick shout outs, primarily for my Patreon supporters, LaShonda, Corey, Kenan, and LaShonda, Corey, Kenan, and Mandy. We're going to cut that. Okay, so quick shout outs really right now for my Patreon supporters, Mandy, Kenan, LaShonda, and Corey. Really appreciate you all supporting on the financial end of this because it's not a paid thing, so to speak, but it's really valuable information. People, don't mind the information. So that's really kind of another shout out for Rogue Media Network, their crew, who helps with the recording, with the publishing, and everything, and just giving us space to record even, so I don't have to try it at home when everyone's running around or try staying up late and doing it, in the wee hours of the night or something like that. So those are my shout outs there. Today's topic is about tools of the trade, basically. So tripods. Tripods are what we're going to look at here. I've got 4 specific ones that I'm going to show and talk through. And as I'm going through, I'm going to highlight some things that you should look for, that you might want to consider if you're in the market for a tripod. Okay, and so number 1, what is a tripod? Well, a tripod, I'll pull the smallest one, so I'm not holding a big one right now, is basically just a stand for the camera, okay? And it's a tripod because it normally has 3 legs, right? So tri means 3. And so it's used to stabilize the camera. Why do you need to stabilize the camera? Several reasons. If you're into video, right, you don't want a shaky video all the way through, right? You don't have to hold it the whole time. And then if you're into photography and you're doing a larger sort of shoot, maybe it's a volume deal where, let's say Baylor University, I do some headshots for their career fair for their students, their seniors that are coming in and doing interviews and such. And it may be 300-400 students that come through a line to get a quick headshot, right? So do I want to be holding a camera for 3 hours while 300 people come through and I try to do a headshot and make it consistent? No. So not only is it supporting the camera, but it helps you get consistent shots as well. And those are the 2 things that I think are important as far as they go. Now, what to look for, like I said, I'll kind of go through that as we're looking at the different tripods. Tripod number 1 is the one that I did show as the example. This guy is a tabletop tripod, which if you just don't have one of these, it's great to just snag one. They usually run for the range $20 to $40 depending on the brand you go for. This is specifically the Manfrotto Pixie Mini, and it is very, very sturdy. I know because I have 2 of these, and my other one I actually accidentally ran over with my car, and it still works. So there you go. Yeah, that's just like, okay. So if you're like me and you sometimes forget things on the car or by the car, then maybe something sturdy is a good option. All right, and so this one's really simple. It's got a ball head, which I'll talk more about what that means a little bit later when I get to the larger tripod, and it just kind of screws into the bottom, okay? And so it screws in, unscrews, very easy to actually put the camera on, take it off, and the only thing about it is it's a tabletop, right? So you can't even see it in frame if you're on my video feed right here. It's just a few inches tall, right? But sometimes you need something small, so that's a good option. All right, my next thing is actually not really a tripod, so yes, I'm cheating a little bit, but whatever. Right, so on here, I've got my Nikon Z50 sitting on a monopod, because you can see it's actually just one rod right here. It's got one rod, but it's got the little tripod feet at the bottom, okay? And so that helps to stabilize it. So if you have something really small, maybe even a cell phone on a stand, right? Or a cell phone in a case that can screw into a tripod or something like that, then you can get a monopod or even a mirrorless camera, right? So this is my Z50, like I mentioned. It's not going anywhere. It's nice and sturdy. I wouldn't raise this all the way up to the top because there are some little notches that allow me to adjust the height right here when I loosen them, and then it slides, okay? So I'll just do one here, and then this slides, okay? And there are 3 of those, or 4 actually, and that you adjust the height. Typically for a monopod, you might use that if you're doing sports, just because those lenses tend to get kind of heavy on you, right? And so it's not to look cool or something like that, or like, oh look, it's really serving a purpose, okay? So so there's a monopod. This specific one is made by Polaroid, but you just find a good one that fits your needs and you're good. I'm not really about brands. I'm really just trying to show you kind of what's what here, and what you might want to look into. The other one here, moving on, does not have a camera on it, but it is actually my favorite so far. And I've had it for about 3 or 4 years. And this one is actually a Neewer brand. And it is a very, very sturdy tripod, a normal tripod, but it's got a ball head. And so I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit about that. And so I'll go ahead and dive into that a little bit, because I'm going to show you the different types after this. So another type after this. So a ball head is basically one that you can loosen, and it's on a swivel basically. So like you can angle this any direction you want. It's not limited by going just up and down, forward and backward, that sort of thing. But literally I could pick whatever angle I want to turn this at and lock it. Okay, and so now I will say if you have a large lens, like a heavy system you're working with, you're not going to want steep angles, like a really, really, really sharp angle down on that, because you're dealing with physics, right? So there's a lot of math and science when it comes to photography, and weight distribution and that sort of thing is not exempt. So keeping it balanced, that's what the tripod's for, but you have to be smart in what you're doing, and make sure that you don't kind of make a bonehead move and put something super heavy angled all the way down and then step away, right? So So yeah, there you go. This one I actually like a lot as well because it's got some other options on it. Specifically, I could separate this middle column right here, and I could make it into a monopod. Like this whole thing, this would just come off, and it could be a monopod. Okay, I've already showed you a monopod, so I'm not too worried about that. But what I will show is just another feature that it allows is to create this to be more like a boom arm. So then I'm like this, and I can get an overhead, a bird's eye view of this guy, right? And so this one's really cool. If you're doing video as well, I can actually loosen the pivot point here, and then I've got some other angles, some different things I can do, right? You can lock all these things, but just kind of showing what this one can do. This will go all the way upside down, okay? So I can completely invert my camera, and then I've got a camera that's like, 5 inches off the ground. So very, very, very low angle, which is kind of neat. So, all right, so there we go. That's the Neewer right there. And I'm going to move on to my other one as soon as I get this guy put back. Boom, and boom. All right, so the last one here is actually another Manfrotto. It's probably my oldest tripod so far. And it's got my, my studio set on here. So this has got the Canon 5D Mark III, and then also a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. So as you can imagine, not very light. So I mentioned I wouldn't take this and put it on this guy here with the ball head and then try to get some angle down. If I'm doing a flat angle, just straight on, it'll hold it. It'll be fine, right? But that's just not really its strong suit to actually take something heavy and then try to do a weird angle with it, or a sharp angle, okay? I would use this setup on my monopod if I was doing sports, but I would not really walk away from it, okay? So it's not one where I would just stand it up and walk away and let go because of the weight, right? So even though this guy has a little tripod feet, the tripod feet on it, not really what I'm gonna trust when I'm talking about this over here, which is well over a couple $1,000s, right? So yeah, so gotta be smart, okay? There you go. So this one is slightly different from all the others because it is a pan tilt tripod. If you look, I'm gonna turn it around here. There is a little handle that I can grab, almost like a screwdriver handle, and I can loosen it. And when I loosen it, I'm gonna kind of hold my lens there because of the weight distribution, right? So I can loosen it, and then I can tilt up or down, okay? And so that's kind of where the tilt comes from. And this one, I can go with a steeper angle, and I can lock it and know that it's gonna hold, okay? So I could even possibly take a little weight and put on the handle here to counteract the weight there. So just kind of thinking that through, I wouldn't really tilt it too far. Really with any tripod, I wouldn't trust it for this heavy of a set. But there you go, so there's that. That was the tilt. The pan is actually what I'm doing to turn it right here, okay? And so that comes from photo video jargon right there. And if you're panning, you're just kind of sliding to the side, kind of like that, okay? And that's controlled by a little knob here. So now I've locked it fully in place, boom. And you've got 4 different options. They all serve different purposes. So clearly if you're into maybe some video, that sort of thing, or you want something that's easier as far as like adjusting the camera to hold on to, where it's not just knobs, then you've got your pan tilt right here, right? So if you're cool without having the knob to kind of adjust, or the handle to adjust, then you can go more with your ball head. And then if you really are on the go, you're doing sports, you're doing things where you either have a light set or a light camera set, or you have something heavy but you're just wanting to support that, then you can go with more of a monopod. And if you just for your everyday, just every now and then, hey, I need to throw something on the table, get a shot, just maybe even if it's a recording of myself or something like that, right? Then I can just put this little tabletop on there, screw it on, boom, and good to go, right? All of these you can find on the gear guide on the website. So you'll be able to find different options for tripods. I am going to wrap this thing up here really quickly. Before I do, I'm going to talk about some ways to connect with us. Okay, I mentioned Camera Coach is about capture, connect, and develop. So to connect with us, you can follow us on social media, which would be Facebook or Instagram. So Camera Coach camera.coach for Instagram, and photo camera coach for Facebook. Now, I don't really do too much outside of those, and the social media content is going to lessen if you've been following for a while. It's going to lessen a little bit because some are going to be shifting over, some content will be shifting over to the Patreon platform. And so that's immediately going to segue into Patreon, which is the supporter platform, right? So there are different levels of support, and there's a $5 option that goes all the way up to $25 for just individuals. If you are a business and you want to sponsor an episode, you want to get your business logo on the title images whenever people are looking at the episodes on Spotify or whatever, then you can do that through Patreon as well. Okay, and so that is patreon.com/camera coach. If you have any questions about that, you can message us or give us a call. And so that's one way to connect with us, okay? The other thing I want to mention is actually learning with us, right? So not just kind of like getting content, absorbing it from afar, right, from audio or from video, but if you would like to personally or in small groups learn how to use your camera, that sort of thing, those are other options. And so 2023 is actually going to be a big year for us, focusing on developing those class options for people. So individual private tutoring, private training, and then small group classes or small group training is one thing that we're really going to be pushing. And so it can be in person if you're in the Waco area, or it could actually be virtual as well, okay, through Zoom. And so those are some options. The first training session, first session is always a reduced price because it's really more of kind of, I'd say, setting the path, kind of which way you're trying to go, and just kind of getting a feel for how we're going to map things out. You know, what's your point A, what's your point B, and that sort of thing. So there's less content in that first session, so we reduced that. Okay, all right. So that's about it. I'm going to mention the website again, photocameracoach.com, and then I'm going to get off of this mic here for today, and then look forward to seeing you guys again sometime soon. Again, you can message us with questions, or you can shoot us a quick email through the website. All right, this is Corey signing off. Hope you have a great day.